Okay, student, very good morning. Uh, Today I will take the class on the topic of solidification of casting, basically nucleation, growth, and uh, cast structure. So, in previous class, we have talked about food solidification, different type of solidification, okay, and how solidification occurs in during the casting process. So, in previous class, I have also talked about food during the solidification, the solidification during casting processes, uh, nucleation and growth of molten metal occurs. Okay. So, and there are actually four basic steps. First, nucleation, then all the nuclei are come together, then attached to each other's growth and ultimately form a grain structure for the cast material. Okay. So, if you are going to the details, I would like to display a video that will give you some idea about food solidification during fasting. Okay. So, just watch this video how solidification occurs means during the solidification different grain structure are formed means columnar grains, aqueous grains, and mixed grains. So how the grains are formed and where these grains are formed, you can understand from this video. So just watch this video.
Of metals and alloys. First, let's discuss the solidification of metals. When we pour the molten metal in the mold cavity, we see that the solidification process starts from the sides of the mold,
So
then moves
solidification
towards the
starts
molten
from the
metal.
side of the wall. Just remember this.
This is because the sides of the mold provide sufficient cooling to the molten metal. After some time, we see that the molten metal solidifies in the form of randomly oriented crystals. The region where the crystals are formed acts as the production area and is called the nucleus. When the molten metal solidifies further, we see that the shape of the crystals changes to long columnar crystals. Having their axis perpendicular to the sides of the mold. Thus, the shape of the molten metal crystals formed will be as shown. Note that during solidification of metals, the temperature remains constant. This can be represented graphically as.
So at the middle zone, there is
Now let's
at that
discuss the
zone the temperature will
solidification
be
of
constant.
alloys.
And during solidification, the
When we
temperature
pour
is
the
constant.
molten alloy in the mold, we see that the solidification process takes place in the same manner as in case of solidification of metals. The only difference is that the crystals formed will have a dendritic structure as shown. Note that during solidification of alloys, the transition from liquid to solid state occurs during the change in temperature. This can be represented graphically as. Thus, we can say that solidification of metal results in the formation of long columnar crystals, and solidification of alloy results in the formation of crystals having a dendritic structure. The related terms are
So basic steps involved in solidification, just nucleation of the crystal, the first step. Then crystal growth. So in the first step, nucleation of the crystal. Then in the second step, crystal growth. Okay, and in the third step, irregular grains form as a crystal grow together. Means all the growth crystals are formed together, and ultimately grain boundaries are formed. So this is the basic step of solidification. Now there are two types of nucleation. One is homogeneous nucleation, and another is heterogeneous nucleation. So homogeneous nucleation means from the terminology, it is clear that the nucleation throughout the molten metal hull throughout the crystal is homogeneous. Means nuclei of the hull new phase forms uniformly throughout the parent phase. Okay, but in heterogeneous nucleation, there is actually no uniformity. Means nuclei formed preferentially at a structure in homogeneities, insoluble impurities, grain boundaries, and dislocations. So at that place, homogeneity is maintained. But within the grain boundaries or soluble impurities or at the dislocations, heterogeneous nucleation occurs. Now, homogeneous nucleation means adverse nucleation, what happens, and the nucleation occurs in homogeneous. So, just consider uh, just consider these are the formed nuclei. Okay, so these are the formed nuclei, and these are actually in homogeneous means these nucleus formed throughout the substance is homogeneous, and obviously this means remaining part of the substance is liquid, and this this part is actually start forming solids. So this interface is this interface this interface is nothing but a solid liquid interface. Okay, and obviously the volume of this nuclei will be 4 by 3 pi r cube, and just volume of a sphere, and it is actually solid, and remaining part are the liquid. Okay, so nuclei of the solid phase forming in the interior of the liquid as atoms clustered together. Each nuclei is spherical and has a radius of r. This situation is represented schematically in the below figure. Now, heterogeneous nucleation and grain structure. So, how the heterogeneous nucleation occurs? Just see this video. So, just here, what happened? Just forming the nuclei. So, all blue are forming the nuclei, and all nuclei are come together and formed a cluster, and what happened? And ultimately formed a uh, and formed ultimately formed a grain structure of the first material. So just now first forming of nuclei, and this nuclei on the small nuclei come together and ultimately form a grain structure in the cast material. So heterogeneous nucleation is very for nucleation to occur to surface and interface that affect other sites. So it is easier to for nucleation occurs in the surface and interfaces other than the other side. Means why in the surfaces heterogeneous nucleation occurs is because at the surfaces uh, the solidification rate or cooling rate is faster and it is actually not uniform. But within the cast material, the solidification rate is constant. So at the surfaces, heterogeneous nucleation occurs. Nucleation occurs with the help of impurities or chemical inhomogeneity. So if there is a chemical inhomogeneity, means like iron carbon, so there is a chemical in homogeneity. So in that case, and heterogeneous nucleation will occur. Impurities can be insoluble like sand particles or alloying elements. Nuclei, in case of heterogeneous nucleation, nuclei are formed on the surface of the above possible surface, often it is called a substrate. Means when a nuclei is formed above to the another surface, then it is sometimes called a substrate. So these are 2 points that you have to remember. First, the substrate must be weighted by the liquid metal, and the angle or weighting angle, that is theta, should be less than 90 degree. Hence, this is the substrate. So this is the substrate, and this is the forming of nuclei. Means just start forming solid. So these parts is solid. Okay, and these are the interface between the liquid and solid. So this angle means actually solid forms like a bubble type shape. Okay, semi spherical type, and this angle theta should be less than 90 degree because of our surface tension of the forming solid, and to make it stable. Now this is the metal casting structure, a typical metal casting structure. So during solidification, what happened? Obviously, the cooling rate at the surface of the mold cavity means obviously this is the mold cavity. So at the surface means interior surface, this surface. At the interior surfaces of the mold cavity, the cooling rate is faster compared to the inner zone. Means at that zone. Okay, because this this mold material is in room temperature, and at the in the interior part of the mold cavity at that middle zone. So what happen as the cooling rate is faster at the surface of the mold cavity, then what happen? solidification and is solidification rate is higher compared to the interior of the mold cavity. So that's why what happened at the surface of the mold cavity, the grain will grow faster and it forms like columnar type. So this is that's why it is called a columnar zone. And in the at the columnar zone, all the grains are formed due to solidification are like a elongated type, and this elongated head just towards the center of the mold cavity. Okay, but in aqueous zone, here the solidification rate is less, and means the cooling rate is less compared to for the surfaces inner surface of the mold cavity, and 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 the cooling rate is constant. So in this region, aqueous type of grain structure are formed. Means all the grains are like a circle type. Okay, so this zone is called a aqueous zone. So in during the solidification of molten metal in in the mold cavity, what happened? Three types of grain structure are formed. First, first is columnar zone, and in the interior is aqueous zone, aqueous type of grain structure, and in between the columnar and aqueous zone there is a mixed, means partially the columnar type and partially aqueous type grain structure are formed. So, why this happened, that I have already told, just I am repeating. The chill zone occurs at the wall of the mold, where the wall chills the material, means wall means just wall of the mold cavity. This is actually chill, means compared to the interior of the mold. And the solidification rate, first solidification occurs at the surfaces of the mold cavity, means inner surface of the mold cavity. Okay, so what happens? And faster grain growth occurs after the inner surfaces at the surfaces of the mold cavity. As more heat is removed, the grain growth towards the center of the casting, means when the heat is removed from the mold cavity, then what happens? And grain growth towards the center of the casting. That's why all the columnar grains are elongated towards the center of the mold cavity. These are thin, long columns that are perpendicular to the casting surface, which are desirable because they have anisotropic properties, means not a isotropic nature. So that's why these are elongated perpendicular to the casting surface. Okay, and these are undesirable because they have anisotropic properties. So actually we do not want this type of a structure, but actually in the casting process this type of structure happens. So You can control this columnar grain growth in columnar type of grain structure formation. There is some technique to control the formation of columnar grain structure during the solidification. Finally, at the center of the aqueous zone contains a spherical, randomly oriented crystals as they are desirable because they have isotropic properties. So, at the center, a spherical type of grains are formed, and these are called nothing but a aqueous type zone, a aqueous type grain structure, and this zone is called aqueous zone. Okay, and these type of properties are desirable because these properties are isotropic properties. So, metal cast structure, we are talking about metal cast structure. So, uh, three different means within a cast structure, three different grains are formed. And as I told that this is because of due to the head from the surface of the mold cavity towards the center of the mold cavity. So these are three different type of grains are formed. One is columnar. This is those are nothing but a elongated type hip, just elongated type. So actually these are columnar grains. Just these grains are elongated type, elongated towards the center of the mold. Okay, from both sides of the wall. The second one is type of mixture of both columnar and aqueous type grains. Means there are both columnar grains and as well as the aqueous type of grains. These are the aqueous type of grain structure. So in this case, this type of structure, this type of cast structure you can get. And in case of columnar grains, this type of cast structure, if you take the microstructure of that casting product, then you can get this type of structure, means only columnar grains. And in case of columnar aqueous grains, then you will get only this type of structure. And for only aqueous type of grain structure, means here the spherical type grains are formed, and in 2D view of a spherical you will get just a circle, means near about the circle is aqueous type of grain. So in these cases, if you take the microstructure of the cast product, then we get this type of structure, this type of structure. Okay, now there are some solidification variables. Which are those variables? Means solidification behavior depends upon the some parameters like type or composition of the casting alloy. So means what material or what type of alloy are you do you want to cast? So according in the solidification rate of the that material or that alloy depend the solidification of the casting product of that material. Another one is the thermal properties of both alloy and molding materials. So this is also important, means thermal properties of both the alloy and also the molding material, means the material which is made the mold made by which material. So if the mole material, the thermal property, thermal conductivity of mole material is less, means high heat transfer will occur. If the high heat transfer will occur, then the solidification rate will be higher. And if the material, means alloy, do you want to cast that material, and that material the thermal conductivity is more, then the solidification rate will be changed according to the thermal properties of the molding material as well as the cast material, means alloy. Another one is the mold thickness and shape. So this is also a important parameter for the solidification. So fourth parameter is chill, getting, and casting design factor. So depending on uh, depending on the chilling, getting, getting design, and casting design, the solidification rate can be changed, and accordingly the cast structure can be changed or controlled. Pouring temperature. Pouring temperature also depends on the solidification rate. Okay, so these are five different parameters which depends on the solidification of the molten material during the casting process. So first one is type or composition of the casting alloy. Means alloy consists of excess metal and other element added to obtain favorable properties. These added elements alter solidification process as they freeze at different temperatures. Further addition usage of including agents promote heterogeneous nucleation. Okay. Thermal properties of both alloy and molding material. So that I have already told that this variable also depends on the solidification. Actually, yeah, heat released during the solidification is very large, and so it has to be extracted quickly. The higher the melting point and thermal conductivity of the material used in casting process, the larger is the latent heat of fusion. All metallic molds produce a higher cooling rate than a sand mold under the same operating condition. Obviously, in sand mold casting process, the uh, solidification rate or cooling rate is low because the sand has what thermal conductivity. Okay, so actually, most of the cases, the mold material should be like that. The thermal conductivity should be high, and the means higher cooling rate or higher cooling rate is desirable. Mold thickness and shape. The thickness of the mold influences the solidification time or heat removal rate. In case of sand mold, heat removal rates are increased by decrease in mold thickness. Obviously, if the mold thickness is decreased, then the heat removal rate will increase. And for the same thickness, solidification is faster in metallic molds. So, in case of chain casting process, and if the thickness of the mold also remain constant, that in case of chain casting process, the solidification rate is lower compared to the metallic mold. And obviously, the mold thickness also depends on the solidification rate. Steels getting and other casting design factors. So solidification takes place at a certain rate. So design of casting is to be achieved to get head control progressive solidification to get defect free casting. Location of gates and risers to chills and other means for controlling the freezing process to attain complete solidification. So means location of gates, risers, and chilling, and the other are controlling the freezing processes. Obviously, will help the solidification of the molten material. Pouring temperature. The pouring temperature of the molten metal must be higher than the solidification temperature of the metal. This helps the metal to flow at all the regions of the mold cavity before solidification occurs. At the same time, very high temperature will saturate the gases, resulting in the formation of oxides. So actually, these are the five variables which depends upon the solidification rate of the casting during the casting process. Now there are two types of solidification within the casting. One is directional solidification, and that is progressive solidification. So directional solidification is a solidification that occurs from part, uh, farthest end of the casting and works it away towards the screw. Means it occurs at the lowest end of the means farthest end of the casting and works it away towards the screw. Means just this solidification start from here and this towards the this screw. Okay, and here is the feeding of molten metal into the cavity, and solidification occurs just opposite the heating of the molten metal. And in progressive solidification, the progressive solidification also known as the parallel solidification, and in this case solidification starts at the wall of the casting and progressive perpendicularly from that surface. Means just it starts from the surfaces parallelly from the surface and the surface, and it goes towards the center. Okay, so this is the progressive solidification. In case of directional solidification, most metals and alloys sink as the material changes from a liquid state to the solid state. Therefore, if liquid metal is not available to compensate for the shrinkage, a shrinkage defect will form. Okay. So in this case, directional solidification shrinkage will occur, and if shrinkage allowance that I told in the previous class, if shrinkage allowance is not provided within the mold cavity, then shrinkage defects will form. And progressive solidification dominates over directional solidification as linkage defects will form. At the end of tunnel type geometries, divergent heat flow occurs, which causes that the area of the casting to pull faster the surrounding areas, creating a end effect. Now, degasification in liquid metal. Degasification means so what happened during the pouring of the molten metal? Uh, some gases like hydrogen and nitrogen are remain in the mold material. So we have to remove these gases, means nitrogen, hydrogen, other gases formed due to the molting of the material. We have to remove from the mold cavity. This is called actually degasification of liquid metal. So the term degassing is employed to remove the nitrogen and hydrogen from steel and other materials in the molding of these materials. And these liquids without gasification comes into contact with the metal. The dissolved gases can cause corrosion and other problems means other means defects in the casting products like porosity will remains in the cast product. So we have to remove those gases formed due to the molting of the molting of the material. So gasification is a way to prevent these problems associated with the bubbles in the liquid metal. And if there is a gas in the molten metal, then bubbles will form, and ultimately these bubbles will make a porosity in the cast product, and casting defects will form. That's why we have to prevent these problems, and have to remove those gases. So this technique is called the degasification of the liquid metal. Degasification is done with the help of degasifier. So there are different sources of gases in liquid metals, and there are some methods to prevent those gases. Means there is a technique of gasification. So sources of gases, it may be either furnace atmosphere due to the furnace atmosphere, furnace charge ladle, furnace to ladles or ladle to cold contact in the mold. So inside the furnace atmosphere, there may be a carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, different type of gases may be there. And other normal atmosphere like nitrogen, oxygen, and also present in the furnace atmosphere. So the amount of gas absorbed depends upon the condition of the type of the melting furnace. Clean and dry atmosphere are in side of the furnace, we helping in reducing this gas absorption. So the cleaning of the furnace is important, and if the interior surface of the furnace is cleaned, then those gases may be can be reduced from the molten material. Furnace charge, wet or oily material or contaminated scraps charged in the furnaces contribute to a gas absorption. So oily material uh, or wet active furnaces or contaminated scraps must be avoided. Allowing addition contain hydrogen resulting from the reducing employed in smelting, oxides, slags, etc. Ladles incompletely dried lining and the surface of spruits or candices, ladles, and when they comes in contact with the molten metal, they help gas absorption through dissociation of steam at the contact surface. So, use of clean and dry and preheated tools helps in reducing gas absorption. Okay, so clean and dry preheated tools to be used to reduce or minimize the gas absorption. Harness to ladle or ladle to hold mold contact. So molten metal may absorb gases while it is transforming through air from ladle to mold or during tapping from furnace to ladle. The gas absorption can be minimized by providing a protective atmosphere to the molten metal by means of slags, inert gas, exothermic compound, etc. Other pouring materials at temperature as below as practically possible and maintaining material and leaking conditions like skimming, cleaning, lathering help in reducing the gas absorption. And in the mold, molten metal may gas ladles, absorb gases inside the mold like moisture or volatile hydrocarbon. Moldy metals prefer to volatile metal and proper ventilation system in the mold helps in reducing the gas absorption. So these are the sources and how the gas absorption can be reduced. So just read these points and you have to remember just these points. So there are different types of different methods of degasification. So I mean there are different categories. So first one is flushing. Second one method is vacuum degassing. So vacuum degassing can be done by four different methods. One is static bath treatment. Another is induction degassing. Third is stream droplet degassing. Fourth is fractional degassing. So flushing. So this is actually flushing method. Flushing or gas scavenging with an inert gas is one of the most effective methods of extracting the dissolved gases from the molten material from the mold cavity. Inert gases like chlorine, nitrogen, helium, argon are used in practices for degassing non-ferrous material. Carbon dioxide is used for ferrous material and the nickel-based alloys. In this method, the inert gas is simply piped from a storage tank through the graphite tubes directly into the mold metals. And so, just from this is figure here, here the nitrogen or argon gas are supplied from the gas tank. Uh, these gases are supplied through a pipe. This pipe is actually made by graphite tube, and the piping is inert gases create bubbles which moves upward, and any dissolved gases in the liquid melt migrates readily to the double and flushed from the melt. The rate of degassing depends on the rate at which the gases diffuse into the gas bubble. So this degasification also depends on the rate of supply of the uh, gases, argon or nitrogen gases, and by supplying these gases, what happened? Bubble will formed, and this bubble will goes upwards direction, and this bubble helps will degasify or degasify to the uh, gases performed due to the molten material. So this is the passing method. By this method, you can degasify the gases formed during the fasting process. Another part is vacuum gassing. This vacuum gassing is actually water treatment, laboratory testing, or solid purification. So, due to the limited time, I have provided here in the lecture PPT material remaining four different vacuum gassing degassing processes. Means the degassing processes to become degassing processes. So just you read this material. Okay. Uh, first static batch degassing is one of the vacuum degassing process. Another is induction degassing. Another is chocolate degassing, and last one is fractional degassing. So just read this point and I can and you can understand. And if you do not understand, then I will discuss in the next class. Okay. So and another thing, these are the referred material. You can go this NPTEL video. The first one is made by famous professor Dr. Rajesh Prasad from IIT Delhi. So from this video, you can get the clear idea about the nucleation and
हेलो हेलो सर टाइम हो गया अगली क्लास का। हेलो
अभी है तो सर ऑनलाइन स्किप करें क्या?
हाँ कर दो। हेलो
किसकी क्लास है?
अरे उनकी क्लास है यार।
अब मेरे ख्याल में उसकी क्या बोलते हैं प्रमंतर की शायद। क्या हो रहा है क्या?
अरे
कौन लग रहा है यार तू तो?